Here is every way humans are still evolving right now, today, while you are alive to watch it. Lactase persistence. There is a gene inside you or not inside you that determines whether you can drink a glass of milk as an adult without your stomach staging a full rebellion. That gene is called LCT. It controls the production of lactase, the enzyme your body uses to break down lactose, the sugar in milk. Every human baby produces it. But for most of human history, the gene turned off after childhood. Milk was for infants. Adults did not drink it. Then something changed. Around 10,000 years ago, humans in parts of Europe and East Africa began domesticating cattle. Suddenly, milk was available in enormous quantities, a rich, calorie-dense food source that could mean the difference between surviving a hard winter and not. The individuals whose LCT gene stayed on into adulthood could digest that milk. They were better fed, healthier, more likely to survive and reproduce. Their descendants inherited the mutation. Today, roughly 35% of humans worldwide carry the lactase persistence mutation. In Northern European populations, that number climbs above 90%. Geneticist Mark Thomas at University College London has called it one of the strongest signals of natural selection ever detected in the human genome. Your ability, or inability, to enjoy a bowl of cereal without consequences is evolution in real time. Shrinking wisdom teeth. Open your mouth. Now imagine a third set of molars trying to push through the back of your jaw at age 17. For millions of years, wisdom teeth were useful. Early human diets were rough, raw plants, unprocessed grains, hard roots, tough meat. Wide jaws needed wide dental coverage. A third set of molars made perfect sense. Then humans started cooking. Cooking softened food. Softer food required less chewing. Less chewing meant less jaw muscle use. Over thousands of years, human jaws began to shrink. Not because of any single dramatic mutation, but because the selective pressure for a massive jaw weakened and genetic variation quietly began to accumulate. Today, between 20 and 25% of people are born without one or more wisdom teeth entirely. That number is rising across generations. Anthropologist Alastair Evans at Monash University published research in 2021 showing that humans are also increasingly being born with an extra artery in the forearm. A vessel that typically disappears before birth, suggesting our developmental blueprint is genuinely shifting. The tooth your dentist wants to remove may simply be disappearing on its own. Give it another few thousand years. Blue Eye Mutation spreading. Every person alive today with blue eyes shares a single common ancestor. That is not a metaphor. It is genetics. Before approximately 6 to 10,000 years ago, every human being on Earth had brown eyes. Then a mutation occurred in a single individual, a change in a gene called OCA2 that reduced melanin production in the iris. That person's descendants spread across Europe, and the mutation spread with them. Blue eyes offer no obvious survival advantage. Scientists believe the trait may have hitchhiked alongside other selected genes in the same chromosomal region, or spread through mate selection. People preferring blue-eyed partners in certain populations, amplifying the trait through generations. Researcher Hans Iberg at the University of Copenhagen traced the mutation to its single origin point, confirming that blue-eyed humans are all branches of one genetic family tree. What it demonstrates is that evolution does not only select for survival advantages. It selects for anything that gets passed down. Beauty, preference, and chance are all part of the mechanism. Your eye color, if it is blue, is a 6,000-year-old genetic experiment that is still spreading. Resistance to HIV. In the 1990s, scientists studying HIV noticed something strange. Some people, a small percentage, were repeatedly exposed to the virus and never contracted it. They were not lucky. They were immune. The reason was a mutation called CCR5 delta 32. The CCR5 protein sits on the surface of white blood cells and acts as a doorway. HIV uses it to enter and infect cells. But in people who carry 2 copies of the CCR5 delta 32 mutation, that doorway does not exist. HIV cannot get in. The mutation appears at highest frequencies in Northern European populations. In some regions, around 10% of people carry at least one copy. Researchers believe it may have originally been selected for during historical plague outbreaks in Europe, where it offered protection against other pathogens that used the same cellular entry point. Now, with HIV as a major selective pressure for several decades, the mutation is being studied as a treatment model. Scientists, including those behind the Berlin patient case, the first human to be functionally cured of HIV, used stem cells from a CCR5 delta 32 carrier to achieve remission. Your immune system's relationship with disease is still being negotiated. Evolution is still selecting lighter skin in northern populations. This one is recent. More recent than most people realize. Early modern humans migrating out of Africa carried dark skin rich in melanin, highly protective against UV radiation in equatorial sunlight. As populations moved northward into Europe and Asia, sunlight dropped dramatically. And something critical happened. The body's ability to synthesize vitamin D, which requires UV exposure, dropped with it. Vitamin D is not optional. It regulates calcium absorption, immune function, and bone density. Severe deficiency causes rickets, immune failure, and reproductive complications. In low sunlight environments, individuals with slightly less melanin, slightly lighter skin, could synthesize just enough vitamin D to survive the difference. Natural selection amplified that advantage across generations. What is surprising is how recently this happened. Genetic research led by Ian Matheson at the University of Pennsylvania has shown that the genes associated with light skin in Europeans were not fully widespread until roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, far more recently than previously believed. Some hunter-gatherer populations in Europe were still dark-skinned well into the Holocene. The skin you are in is a recent adaptation to where your ancestors ended up. High-altitude oxygen efficiency. At high altitude, the air is thin. There is less oxygen per breath. For most humans, climbing above 4,000 meters triggers altitude sickness, headaches, fatigue, pulmonary edema. The body struggles. Unless you are Tibetan or Andean. Tibetan populations carry a variant of a gene called EPAS1, sometimes called the superathlete gene, that allows their bodies to function efficiently at oxygen levels that would incapacitate most other humans. Their hemoglobin does not overthicken the way lowlanders does at altitude. Their cardiovascular systems run cleaner, leaner, and more efficiently in thin air. The remarkable part, researchers including Rasmus Nielsen at UC Berkeley have traced this variant to an archaic human species, the Denisovans, a group related to Neanderthals who lived in Asia thousands of years ago. Modern Tibetans carry a piece of Denisovan DNA that was selected for because it worked. Andean populations evolved a completely different solution, higher baseline hemoglobin concentrations, a parallel adaptation that arrived through an entirely separate evolutionary path. Two populations. Two mountains. Two different genetic answers to the same problem. Alcohol metabolism changes. Your liver processes alcohol using enzymes encoded by genes that are still shifting across populations. The key players are ADH1B and ALDH2. Genes that control how quickly your body converts alcohol into acetaldehyde, and then how quickly it clears acetaldehyde away. Acetaldehyde is toxic. It causes flushing, nausea, and rapid heart rate. The faster your body produces it and the slower it clears it, the worse alcohol feels. Variants of these genes appear at dramatically different rates across populations. In many East Asian populations, a version of ALDH2 that clears acetaldehyde slowly is extremely common. The genetic basis of what is often called the Asian flush response. This variant appears to have been selected for, possibly because the discomfort it caused reduced alcohol consumption in environments where alcohol-borne illness was a significant cause of death. In other populations, faster clearing variants dominate, selected for in different disease environments, different cultural pressures, different histories of fermented food and drink. Your relationship with alcohol. How your body handles it, tolerates it, or rejects it is a product of what your ancestors drank, survived, and passed on. Appendix shrinkage. For over a century, the appendix was called a vestigial organ, a leftover, a biological footnote, a body part evolution forgot to delete. That story is more complicated now. The appendix does appear to be shrinking across human populations over evolutionary time, and some individuals are born without one at all. But recent research suggests it may still serve a function, acting as a reservoir for gut bacteria, helping to repopulate the digestive system after illness or diarrhea. Researcher Heather Smith at Midwestern University conducted a large comparative study suggesting the appendix has evolved independently in mammals over 30 times, which argues strongly against it being purely vestigial. What is clear is that its size, shape, and prevalence are variable, and that variation is heritable. Populations differ. The organ is in flux. This is what evolution looks like in the middle of a transition, not a clean before and after, but a messy, contested, ongoing negotiation between a structure that used to matter more and a future where it may matter less. Or differently, your appendix is a work in progress. Later puberty onset. Something is happening to the timing of human development, and it cuts in two directions at once. On one hand, the average age of puberty onset, particularly in girls, has been declining in industrialized nations over the past century, linked to improved nutrition, higher body fat percentages, and exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals. This is not primarily genetic. It is environmental. But underneath that environmental signal, evolutionary geneticists have identified genuine genetic shifts. Research published in Nature Genetics by John Perry at the University of Cambridge identified over 100 genetic variants associated with the timing of puberty and found evidence that later puberty is being selected for in some populations. Later puberty correlates with longer education, delayed reproduction, fewer but healthier offspring, a reproductive strategy that appears to carry fitness advantages in complex, resource-rich modern societies. Evolution does not know about school or careers. It only knows what survives and what reproduces. And increasingly, what survives and reproduces is a slower, more careful developmental trajectory. Your body is recalibrating its schedule. Reduced aggression and jaw size. This final one is the most sweeping. And it is still happening. Over the last 50,000 years, human skulls have changed. Brow ridges have softened. Jaw bones have narrowed. Faces have become flatter, rounder, more juvenile-looking across populations worldwide. The testosterone markers that once dominated early Homo sapiens faces have receded. This is not cosmetic. It is behavioral. Researcher Robert Sierra at the University of Utah published research in 2014 connecting the reduction in facial masculinization directly to the rise of collaborative social behavior. As human societies became more complex, requiring trade, cooperation, delayed gratification, and long-term alliances with strangers, individuals who could signal lower aggression were more likely to be accepted, partnered, fed, and protected by the group. Natural selection began favoring faces that read as less threatening. It is a process researchers call self-domestication. Humans, like domesticated dogs selected for tameness over wolves, appear to have selected for cooperativeness, and the skull shape followed. The modern human face is a social technology. And it is still being refined. Here is what you started with, the idea that evolution was something that finished before you arrived. But look at the list. Milk digestion, eye color, immune response, jaw shape. All of it shifting, all of it measurable, all of it happening not in the distant past but in the span of thousands of years, which in evolutionary terms is an eye blink and in some cases, in decades. You are not the finished product of evolution. You are a draft. A living, walking, reproducing draft, participating in a process that has no end and no editor, only outcomes. Your descendants will be different from you. The only question is how.